Hey there, my name is Rodrigo Sayane and I'm the founder of Plow. As a type designer and an avid tennis fan, I came across this logo type from Racket brand, so at Racket brand on Twitter. They are a tennis fan account showing beautiful courts all around the world. And I love the way the logo looks, but I found some issues that I wanted to fix in order to get a better looking logo for such an interesting Twitter account. So what I did was I zoomed in and grabbed a screenshot of the logo and started working in Glyphs app to make this, to give it an upgrade, right? So I'm just gonna start doing this, and please feel free to stick around as I fine-tune and refine this logo. This is totally for fun, and I hope you like it. So let's do this. I'll be silent for most of the time, so bear with me. All in all, I wanted to point out some stuff about the logo that I think are problematic, right? So for me, R, A, and C are one part of the logo, the first half of this logo, and the second half, it looks like it's more italic, so it has more of a slant. Also, some issues with the spacing. So if you check out like spacing within the letter C and compare it to the spacing between the letter K, there are some issues in spacing. You see how the T looks much closer than the E looks much closer to the T than in comparison to the K. There's also some significant issues with readability or legibility. So if you take the K, this looks a lot like an H, but within the context, you certainly read racket and not ratchet. But if you want to fix this further, you can pinch this up a little bit, and also this curve could or should relate a little bit to this curve. We are always looking for these different connections and possible matchups within logos, right? So this is the only place where the type kind of falls out of a pattern. Like it doesn't look as much as a font as it would. So this kind of shows me that this is hand letter or something like that, right? So that being said, we could either mirror the same design that we have for the R on the K, or the same design of the K to the R. So that's what I'm going to try to do. And also there are some other things like the continuity between curves and angles. The C looks a little bit more slanted than the A, and so on, right? So these are the things that I'm looking for when designing a logo. And this is what I'm going to try to fix here, right? All right, so first things first, I design things in modules. So you pretty much trace the first letter, and just like you would do the brush strokes of a lettering, right? So 1, 2, and 3. And this way I can handle different parts and maybe even reuse them later on in the project. I am already doing some stuff with this, so the finishing touches of the original logo looks very round. So I'm trying to give it a little bit more of a brush treatment, which means that one corner will be a little bit more square than the other, like this, and then this would be rounder, right? So in this way it kind of looks like a brush did the trace. So, and you have this dynamic going, like it becomes more dynamic a little bit, right? So yeah, we could go back later and do this more rounder if you want. Since this is kind of a feature of the logo, I am inclined to accept that it's going to be more round later on, but for now I'm gonna stick with my gut and see how it looks in terms of making this look more like brush-like. There are some things in terms of weight as well, so sometimes a brush stroke might look lighter or heavier than the other one, so I'm gonna play a little bit with that. This logo is very smooth in terms of connections. For example, this, even though I got a very small image to work with, this looks very like it's smooth and it's not like a corner, right? So we could do that later on. For now, I'm gonna design the module of a part of the letter in the way, like as separate elements, and then later on we can meld them together, weld them together, and make it work as a unit, and maybe round wherever we need. I know that this needs to be round. Certainly the counter shape for A, the intention is to be very round, so I will probably do something like that later on. So here you can see that the counter shape, so the internal shape of the letter, looks very round and blobby, which is the original intention, I believe. So yes, and now I am going to do something like this. This is an overlap, and this is and you can always like start tracing the logo as it is and then going back and fixing the issues that you see, which is kind of like what I'm doing here. So I'm just tracing it, and later I'll get back to it and see what's fixable. Takes some time, but yeah. We're always looking for extrema points, points that are what I call in the change of direction of a certain stroke. And you're also looking for parallel. So this one is going away from this curve, so I need to either bring this in a little bit or bring this out a little bit as well, so that it looks parallel. And then I can complete my... There you have it. For this one, because I did it kind of unorthodoxically, I'm gonna delete this triangle that is kind of was left out, so this now becomes a whole thing. Of course, this is not looking great. And I give this a little bit more of a pinch. Gonna fix some contrast issues. So we're looking to have this one and this one as wider versions or wider parts of the letter, where this one and this one, so the horizontal parts should be lighter than the vertical. And this will ensure that the logo looks nice and it looks like what a normal script would. I am pretty sure that this should go inwards a little bit, and maybe we can get this to be less contrasty. So I'm looking for this area and this area to have the same amount of dark space. Okay. So this serves a little bit as an angle reference, and I can recycle some curves here in order to make my letter C. So if you take the letter C, and this will show you how much of a difference the C has from the original A. See how this looks so much different than the C underneath? That shows how inconsistent the logo was. And I can even take this part as a model for the rest of my letter C. And because the letter C needs to be a little bit wider, because it's going to connect to the letter K, I can just play with this, with the width here, and then it starts to make a little bit more sense. Of course, there are so many adjustments needed to be made. This one. Now, as far as spacing is concerned, things are looking good. As far as connections are concerned, things are not looking as good. See the letter A connected to the A? This one is a little bit higher, so we could just grab the letter R, make sure this connects a little higher, or just grab this and pull it up a little bit, or on the other hand, pull the other one down a little bit. It depends on your intentions. For now, I'll just keep these like very in line. You can add a guide to guide me, and of course this is never about the math. It has to be of how you look and how it looks and how you like it. But all in all, there is a good beginning. Play with this a little bit. The original, the big leg of the letter R might get away with coming down a little bit more than the lowercase, because it is intended as a first letter, so it has some room to be a little bit different than the others. We could approximate, make this come nearer the letter R so that it's a more compact logo, maybe. There's one thing that I really like about this lettering is that it's kind of like a high ascender, or at least it should be. So I'm gonna try that. I can just copy, for example, my E and make sure I have my letter E almost completed, and I can delete this whole segment. I can bring this up a little bit and then complete my leg of the E. And this is going to be kind of like interesting to tackle. Could have a little bit more angle. And see, I treat this just as a brush stroke. The same terminal, the same finishing touches in order to make this very consistent and yes, so something like this. So we are almost done with our first part. What I want to do next, and I can do this by grabbing, for example, the letter C. I am going to do the letter T. And I'm gonna just place this here. I'm gonna complete the letter. Things are not gonna look super great in the beginning, but as we go on, it will improve substantially. I'm gonna leave this round for now, and I can even complete this like this. So what I want to do is make sure that this looks right. And now we have some work to do here. Might be that we right. Of course, the letter E is not connecting to the T yet, but we'll get there. This one I could just make something very simple here. Right now I'm just worried about having this kind of halfway done, and then we'll fix and find a nice voice to it. We could always make sure that this is a straight line by having a straight segment, just like in this one. So I'm looking for this number to be always consistent, so this one should be 82. Now let's see what happens here. Yes, now it's consistent. Make sure this is kind of like parallel. Yes, I can bring this a little bit further to the right, maybe this one. And we're almost there. I'll grab this whole part. Move this within. I could actually do something like this, just moving the T further down. The T does not need to be so high because the T does not have an ascender. It's a different kind of movement. So this one, I am going to exaggerate this a little bit further up, and we could even find a guide here to guide us and make sure that this just touches a little bit here. And yes, now we can play the rest. This is going to be a little bit like this, and now it's the fun part of this letter K. And this is going to be fun. I'm gonna do this, 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 bring this down, find the extreme point, make our fine looking brush stroke and open this up a little bit. Exaggerate this a lot. weight is going to be a little bit heavier. This is a handful. Always room for improvement up until the very end. Let's complete this. Make sure that this matches the top parts. Now this is going to be fun. So this is the first part. Let me grab a copy so now I can play with it infinitely without messing up our first idea. I'm going to make this H, or make this K, look a little bit more like the letter R. So what I'm gonna do here is grab this part, make sure we have a nice looking shape. This one does not need to be here. This one can be here. Look at this. It's going to look good, right? You know it. You know it. Here we go. The whole head doesn't need to be as wide. We can delete some points here. We could move these points up so that it looks more consistent, because it feels very monoline, which means that the whole thing has a consistent width. So we can go here, monoline, looking to make this a little bit more monoline. Monolinear, as I say. The whole thing can go a little bit down, and for sure these can come to the left. make a decision, which is to keep this. I'm gonna keep this more monolinear. I think that's the way to go. So I'm gonna make sure that everything looks a little bit less contrasty. It also means that I can delete something like this to make sure that this is very straight. And of course, this is looking very much, this is looking too inclined, too slanted. So I'm bringing this here. I need to make sure that the spacing looks right. So I'm gonna move this more to the right. And also this letter E and the T needs to move left. So I'm looking at the E, it needs to be between the T and the K. A little bit more like this. Here we go. Extra points. Align. Make sure this is smooth. Align. Now I can make these finishing things rounder. Making a round finish on an angle, not as simple as you thought, huh? Racket. Trying to look a little bit better. We can come here, make sure that this finish is a little bit less wide. Maybe this is smoother.